Yeah, hello and welcome to a new episode of our weekly Spielworks Chat Season 2. My name is Uli Blennemann and I'm having a guest today, Candice Harris. So,
Hello.
welcome Candice. I hope your
Thank you.
start in the day in California, I know it's early, was all right. So, how do you feel today?
I'm feeling great. I woke up early today because I wanted to be refreshed. I went for a little jog and I have my espresso.
So,
So I'm
hopefully,
good. Thanks for having me
yeah,
today.
of course, of course. So I'm glad having you here. And there is Daniel, designer Daniel Newman in the chat. So hello Daniel, how are you?
Yo.
And there's a real punk there, Spielpunks. Phil, good seeing you. And Mo, hello to Texas. So some people and Matt, another designer here. So the designers
Cool.
chat today.
Awesome.
Matt, hello to northern. What is it? The northern NC? No, N northern. What is the state in the U.S.?
No- North Carolina or something?
Carolina. So I was confused. So thank you here. So and hello board games for me. Good seeing you. And by the way, if you have any questions or comments, most probably directed to Candice, please put them in the chat window, and I'm sure Candice will respond. So, but first, Candice, please tell us something about yourself and your background, please.
Yeah, so I'm Candace Harris. I work on the Board Game Geek team, contributing news articles, helping with different live streams and events, and recently just started hosting my own show called Cardboard Creations. Um, I got into the hobby about 3 years ago. Yeah, just about 3 years ago after kind of taking a brief hiatus from actively playing in a rock band, like kind of a progressive rock band. I'm a drummer. And I was kind of like needing to take a break from music. And I found board gaming to be really therapeutic. So I just kind of I got Mysterium as a gift, and
Mm-hmm.
that was my gateway game because once I realized Mysterium was out there, and we had to look up a video to kind of see how it worked. And then I discovered like Will Wheaton's I can't think of it, tabletop, that show where
Mm-hmm.
he plays games with his friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started discovering these other games. So I would just buy them and just started learning games and playing games and really just got like pretty hooked on it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then eventually, shortly after, evolved my taste evolved and got a little bit heavier. um, I went to a meetup in the area and got jumped into a Great Western Trail game that
Mm-hmm.
just blew my mind because at the time I was playing like King of Tokyo and Splendor on the regular. And then
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden I'm playing Great Western Trail with strangers at a bar in downtown LA. And I got completely crushed, had no clue what was going on, but I was just in awe. And I went home and bought it. And then,
You
from
didn't
there I started, yeah.
you didn't look back and really what is it, what fascinates me is seeing the games in your back there. So
Oh, yeah.
you see it's interesting that when you said, well, I'm playing games really for 3 years, because it could be that you're in the hobby for longer. So very interesting. But I'm having here some comments on Great Western Trails. Yes, Daniel and also Phil, they said yes, Great Western Trail is a great game, and I think so too. And Phil actually, when he was working for Eggert Spiele at that time, he worked on that game. So
Oh, cool.
probably he made it worse than it was before. So I guess so. It was probably better before. Uh,
That's
um,
awesome. Yeah,
um,
it's a favorite of mine.
it's a great game. Talking about music again for a second. First, I put the URL of your band. It's or
Oh,
the
thank you.
Zookeeper's Palace in here. So please check this out. So this is the band, but you are playing the drums. So
Yes.
why drums? Why are you the drummer?
Okay, so back in elementary school, you know, I think it was about third grade, I tried out for strings and I didn't make the cut. So the next year I was eligible to try out for band,
Mhm.
and I just picked. It was just kind of random. I picked drums as my top choice, trumpet as
Mhm.
my second,
Mhm.
and voila, I ended up getting into drumming kind of very early on. And fortunately, my parents were always like supportive, and it
Very
wasn't like a
good.
thing like our girl is not playing drums. Like my dad played guitar, so we had music in the household, but they were
Wonderful.
just very encouraging and supportive. And so I started, like, when I got to junior high, I wanted to join the jazz band. So I
Mm.
started taking drum set lessons. And then in high school, I was in marching band and pit orchestra. And it wasn't until like college that I started dabbling around in bands. And fast forward, I had a band in Philly called Polymer, and that was probably the most serious project. We were very hardcore about it, like it was our
Mm.
our business. We didn't
Mm.
do anything else but like play, rehearse,
Mm.
gig, right. Um, then fast forward, I moved out to LA in 2009, originally from the Philadelphia area.
Mhm.
And shortly after being out here, of course, I wanted to start a band. So started a
Mhm.
band with my partner Matt, who actually moved from Philly. He was in my Philly band too, and our keyboardist at the time. And we started writing songs for Zookeeper's Palace, just the three of us. Eventually built the band to be a six-person band because we have me on drum set, then we have a percussionist who's playing congas and all sorts of
Wow. Mm.
percussion, guitar, keys, bass, and then Matt is the lead singer, and he also plays percussion because he's a drummer like me. We both kind of like play a little bit of everything. So I started Zookeeper's Palace, and for quite a few years, like we put out two albums, and we were
Mhm.
playing around the LA area. We got to play a sold out show at the Roxy. We
Mm.
played the Viper Room. We did all the cool LA gigs. Had a blast, and wasn't until my keyboardist opened a brewery at some point, so we lost him.
Uh-huh.
And then our guitar player got sick, so we started having some personal
Mm.
issues, kind of
Mm.
changed some things. And at some point it got like a little bit stressful for me, and I was like, I think I need to take a break from music. And that's actually where kind of acknowledging that I needed to take that break was, it was kind of a tough time for me because I've always identified myself as I'm a drummer. I'm a
Yeah.
female
Yeah.
drummer. I make my mom proud. It's just a cool thing. I love doing it. I'm obsessed with music. But I needed to kind of like take a pause from it because, yeah, I don't know. I was just going really hard at it for so many years. And at the same time, I wanted to take a break from social media. And,
Mhm.
when I got into board games, I'm like, okay, I'm getting friends together. We're sitting around a table. We're not looking at screens and checking Instagram and everything. We're sitting here using our brains, socializing, and I just fell in love with it, and it kind of became therapeutic. And
Mhm.
then the more I discovered how many different types of games were out there, I just went really deep and really got into it, and I'm still really into it.
Yeah, but
So I still have all my drums, and I'm still gonna always music is always gonna be a part of me. And I think we're still really good friends with our bass player, so we'll probably like rejuvenate things a little bit with
yeah.
Zookeepers at some point when we have the time and when we want to do it. But for now, board games take up a lot of my time.
Yeah, but this was a wonderful story, and I think really uh, the love for music, I guess, is still there, and it will come back in a bigger way at some point when you feel like it. It's time, and for the time being, you have some games there to
Yeah,
play. But
a
is
couple.
a couple. But is there a common quality that you need playing tabletop games and playing the drums? Do have games a certain rhythm for you, or how do you see this? Okay.
That's really interesting. I've never actually thought of it like that, Uli. But I would say, not specifically the drums and like a rhythm of the games. That's really interesting.
Mhm.
Um, but definitely I notice patterns between my musical taste and like my board gaming taste.
Mhm.
I'm pretty much an omni gamer. Like I love so many different types of board games, and I'm always seeking out the special ones.
Mhm.
Things that kind of stand out. And I think with the same thing with music, I was actually just this weekend to make more space for board games, clearing out boxes of CDs that I have. And
Mhm.
like just trying to like, I don't listen to CDs. We listen to vinyl and stream
Mhm.
music. But I was like, oh my goodness, I forgot I even listened to this. Like I love
Mhm.
jazz, I love progressive rock, I love hip hop, I love I love so much music. But like within all those genres, I like to find those like really good
Yeah.
ones and like those great albums. And two of I would say like two of my favorite artists are one Bjork,
Mhm.
the Icelandic singer.
Yes.
She just blows my mind. And then there's like the Mars Volta. I'm a huge Mars Volta fan, and I find myself, I always crave that different thing, like somebody who's doing something, who's
Mhm.
something new and innovative. So yeah, so I think that same musical discovery that I've done for years and years and years since I got into like really drumming, which kind of started with like I was listening to Dave Matthews Band and Rush and Dream Theater, because
Mhm.
people, they were like, hey, these are awesome drummers. So that's how, like, my taste in music is just very
Yeah.
broad. And the same with board gaming. Um, so yeah, so I'm just always like very curious to discover uh, new types of games. In the past year I got into wargaming.
Yay.
And I'm yeah, yeah, I'm very much an amateur, but you can kind of see back here, mostly GMT has like taken
Yeah.
up a
Good
good
stuff
chunk of my.
there. There,
Yeah,
there
thank
is
you,
some
thank you.
good stuff.
I I mean, I really love, like, I love the coin series.
Mhm.
And I see something and I'm like, this is very special, and I want more people to know about it. Just
Yeah.
like the Mars Volta is kind of like really a special band. Like,
Mhm.
I wish they were still around too. Um, but yeah, so I noticed that with my taste in board gaming and just my curiosity to just keep discovering new, to find like where are these hidden gems, you know?
Yeah, right, right. And we have some nice comments here. Matt is saying no one who has two shelves of war games is an amateur. I have to agree that that's absolutely true. And Daniel is saying he still needs to play a coin game. Yeah, Daniel, we can always
Yeah.
do an online game if you like. So I'm always in there. Board games for me is saying nice collection, and yes,
Thank
definitely a
you.
nice
Thank you.
nice collection. And but Matt was saying something else before, which I would like to repeat. There aren't enough good board games about music. Big Easy Busking is a recent one, but I think the market could support a lot more. And I have to agree. And Matt, we will in a couple of minutes talk about another game. Is there?
Yeah. I
But how
agree.
do you see this in general, Candice? Board games
Yeah.
or music topic in board games? Should there be more? Yeah, right.
Yes. Oh, yes, yes, 100%. I mean, that was one of the gaps that I found. Coming as a musician, coming into the hobby, I'm like, playing all these different types of games with different themes, but a lot of like the same kind of themes. You got your fantasy, your sci-fi, space games, your train games, sailing across the Mediterranean games.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I wasn't really finding a whole lot of music related games. And a lot of my friends who saw me kind of, who aren't board gamers, who I'm slowly turning into board gamers though, but who saw me how fast I got into this, and they were just like, "Oh, you should make a game. You should make a game." I'm like, nah, 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 you know. But then eventually I'm like, I should make a game because I don't see, I'm like at a point, I think I was like a year and a half into it at that point, and I was like, it would be cool to give players, a theme of being in a rock band, and
Mm.
so I started designing a game.
Yeah, but we will talk about this in a second and in a little
Sure.
bit more detail because we have some interesting comments here again. By the way, hello Ash, good seeing you. This is going back to coin games. She's saying I have Gandhi, and that would be my first coin game that I want to learn. And actually, this is high on my to playlist as well. So maybe we should get together playing a Vassal game. So I'm all for this. But
Ooh.
getting to back to music in games, Jay Foolsgard is saying that I find music really hard to convey in board games. Yeah, could be. Is it because it's difficult to translate maybe to a tabletop game and not a video game? I can think. But he's saying I do have a Eurovision Song Contest prototype somewhere. So bring it out. Although I must say I hate the Eurovision Song Contest. So for the music. So it's
I know about it loosely. Yeah, I know about it loosely.
it's big in Europe. I think it's even in Australia and some other parts in the Middle East. It's really big in Europe, but oh boy,
Is
is it
is it
bad.
like is it like American Idol? Or is it
No, I don't think so. So it's more that each country that participates, it's mainly European countries,
hmm
they send in one band or one singer to it, and then there are votes for it. So you can give
uh,
points. And then one is the winner, and this is also a country from a certain country. And yes, it's bad. It's really bad. But you have to see, I have no musical taste at all. Some say I have no taste at all, so not even in music, so everywhere. So it could be, but I don't like it. But it's popular, so the Eurovision
Yeah,
Song Contest game, bring it out. So it could be something.
absolutely. More
Um,
music games, please.
uh, and Phil is saying, Uli is only sad that Germany never wins. No, I'm not sad because I haven't watched this for at least 10 years. Sometimes, because most of the time, if I'm remembering this correctly, it's in the early summer. Is this correct? And when we are having the window open, you hear it from the neighbors, and then I say, "Oh no, oh no,
Not
it's
this
at
again.
night, it's at night again." uh,
That's funny.
okay. And Matt is saying, does Germany only send David Hasselhoff? And no. He would be probably actually better than a lot of the ones that we are sending. Candice, getting back to games here. Of course, you already told us a lot about your gaming tastes, but you are very much an omni gamer. You're having war games, coin games, other interesting games.
18xx.
Oh, wow, very good. And I have to bring in the Spielworks at this moment. Spielworks will have an 18xx game late this year. So yeah, well,
Yeah, nice.
so that and Candice and I didn't even talk about this. So I didn't make the secret sign mention
Oh, I had
18xx.
no idea. That's
So
exciting though.
it worked out very well. But do you have some current favorites about among your games right now? If you could pick 3 or 5 games, which are your top ones right now? And no tastes are changing. Yeah.
Okay. So I would say definitely one that's always a top for me is PAX Premier Second Edition.
Wow.
Cole Worley. I get excited every time I just open that box when I'm
Yeah.
going to play that with people. And yeah, it's just such a fantastic game. And, design wise, Cole Worley is like almost on that Bjork level for me as like a game designer where everything he puts out is just very unique and innovative and refreshing, and that excites me personally. I know they're not for everybody, but
Yeah.
so I would say PAX Premiere for sure. Earlier this year, I played my very first game of Twilight Imperium,
Hmm.
and that that just blew my mind. Like I've never felt so many emotions in one game, and I love, the negotiations. Like we played, I think, for 4 hours with our neighbors who we were, safely
Hmm.
quarantining with. But we played for about 4 hours and there was no combat, and we were still all enthralled.
Yeah.
Like it just, yeah, I know that game again is not for everybody because not everybody wants to like play a game for possibly 12 hours. But we just love it. So that is definitely a top game for me. And then I'm gonna do kind of a twofer where I'll say Too Many Bones. And recently, Chip Theory Games sent me Cloudspire,
Hmm.
which I have so much more exploring to do with that. But I really fell in love with Too Many Bones last year.
Hmm.
Sometimes writing for Board Game Geek, sometimes I'll do a little research to tell people about something that maybe I haven't played, and then sometimes that gets me into it and I'm like, oh, this sounds interesting, and I never realized I would just kind of like fall in love with that game. Too Many Bones, I've played Too Many Bones a lot more than Cloudspire, but I could see Cloudspire really really creeping up there. Let's see.
I haven't,
I was
unfortunately. Yeah, but please go on.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh, no, no, go, you go.
I haven't played, unfortunately, Cloud Spire yet, but um, I can. I think I will like it a lot. Yes. So
Yeah.
so so good selections over there. And Phil in the chat was saying Uli's briefing was thorough because Spielworks, my company, is doing the German edition of Pax Pamir, and I'm a huge Cold Whirly fanboy myself. So
Cool.
so
Cool.
really.
That's awesome.
And
Yes, get it out there.
did you play the fourth edition of Twilight Imperium? So the last edition?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah,
Yeah, that's what I have. Yep.
yeah. I did not like the earlier editions that much, I have to admit, but I think that the new edition is very much an improvement. And of course, it's
Hmm.
really, if you have three, four, five other players, it's a wonderful day. A day spent well at the gaming table. And Jay Foolscott is saying, yeah, TI is really great and tense. That's what it is. But at BGG and at YouTube, you run the show Cardboard Creation. So what is Cardboard Creations, Candice?
Yeah, so Cardboard Creations, again, this goes back to just like my fascination and curiosity with games. I think it was honestly the Great Western Trail that really made me curious, like, how did someone make this game? And I want to have Alexander Pfister on really, really bad because I'm a big, big Alexander Pfister fan also. So hopefully he'll join me on a Cardboard Creations at some point and tell me that. But yeah, I just became curious. About how games were designed, and I know there are several podcasts out there on game design that are kind of like targeted towards people who are aspiring game designers to learn or get just getting into it, or even experienced game designers. But there wasn't really anything out there that was kind of like a making of
Mhm.
series for board games, and I think aspiring game designers, in addition to just people who love board games, would maybe be entertained and interested to hear the story about, like, you know how did Wingspan get to be
Mhm.
Wingspan?
Yes.
Where did it start? There's a lot of, and I know this personally now, just even as an amateur designer, like there's a lot that goes into designing and developing a board game, and I just want to kind of like interview designers and share the stories because everybody's very different too.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
so the I yeah, so the idea of the show is just to kind of from start to finish, like, how did you get this initial idea to, oh, we're printing this game and now it's out there? Like, what is that story? Like, how much play testing was done? How did you prototype?
Yes. Yes.
just interesting stories about how different board games were created.
Yeah, and I can only tell the viewers here, check this one out. So I saw the piece, of course, with Cole Worley. So and I really loved it. It was really
Thanks.
interesting. So really well done, and you should all check
Thank
out
you.
Cardboard Creations at BGG and YouTube. So really well done. And
Oh,
then,
one more thing.
of
One
course,
more thing, Ule, if you don't. I was just gonna say, also since we've been talking about coin games a bit, just last weekend I interviewed Volko Runke. So there's gonna
so
be a
you
future
should check this
episode.
one out. So and Volko,
Yes.
he was my guest a couple of weeks here ago
Yeah.
too. So he's such a nice
Awesome.
person. So he's
Such a
really,
sweetheart. Yeah.
yes, he's a really lovely person. So and Jay Foolsgard is asking, is this a podcast? So Cardboard
No,
Creations.
it is not a podcast. It's a YouTube show. Yeah, someone actually I think commented on a Board Game Geek thread that they would like to have it in just audio format too.
Yeah.
So that's something we'll have to explore at some point. But for now, it's a YouTube show
Yeah,
on Board Game Geek's YouTube channel.
yeah, and with Cole, I think the video format helped because he was sometimes showing stuff from earlier versions
Yes.
in there. So I think this was a nice addition. And Phil is saying, I can tell you, we did lots of prototyping for Great Western Trail. We at some point played 3 versions of the game during 1 week. So just 3 versions, you slacker. Just 3. So I had hoped that it would be 3 versions a day, not a week. So no, really in Great Western Trails, it shows that there was a lot of testing involved
Yes.
because the
Yes.
systems, the various subsystems, there are quite a few. So I think
Yeah.
testing there was well done, well handled, and probably also necessary. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so but you are now, Candice, also are a game designer because your game Stage Left is currently in development. So please tell us something about this
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, so Stage Left has is now in its like fourth version. This Stage Left came from my desire to have a music related board game, and kind of from my personal experience of playing in a rock band. I wanted to have a game where players are building a band, getting different musicians and playing gigs and kind of like simulate some of the activities that you do. So originally it started as a more of the bigger picture, like, oh, you're going on tour and,
Mm-hmm.
playing. But I was like, I actually never went on, like, we did small circuit tours, but I've
Mm-hmm.
never done like a tour. So I was like, I want to do something that's more like rootsy, and
Mm-hmm.
a smaller scale. So basically, in Stage Left, uh, each player is starting a band in a city where there's barely any music scene, and
Mm-hmm.
collectively you need to work together to build up the music scene in your
Mm-hmm.
city. But individually, you want to have the most fans. You want to gain the most fans, so you're the best band in the city, and players basically will have a player board where they start with two kind of like okay musicians, and you can recruit new musicians throughout the game. You can write songs, you can gain different performance skills, you can gig, you can get songs on the radio. And one of the core mechanics is deck building, but
Okay.
I'll say it in the sense of like deck building is involved in Great Western Trail, which is an
Okay.
obvious influence, so each band will have a genre, which this is like some PAX Premier influence. So you'll play with 3 different genres, and then there's like a kind of a stock markety track where each genre, different things you do throughout the game will increase the value of fan cubes. So you have
Mm-hmm.
these different color cubes that represent a group of fans. At the beginning
Mm-hmm.
of the game, every cube is just like worth 1 fan, but you do things and push certain genres up to make, like, now all of a sudden all my black cubes, which are maybe heavy metal, are worth 10 fans each at the end of the game. So you want to do things to kind of gain different fans. And then there's also an area influence thing where you're playing at these 3 different venues, which is kind of it's not like delivering cattle to Kansas, but like there's a thing where you want to like build up your hand, and then you want to go play a gig, get your band prepped. You go play a gig at a venue, and when you do, there are influence spots on these venues. So like if you like, go to play a gig somewhere, and you're gonna put one of your band's discs out there to say, okay, you're the most influential band at that venue right now. But just like real life, flavor of the week, if I come in there now and play a gig, I'm gonna bump your disc down, so you're losing influence at that venue. So there's some area influence there, and there's also a radio station, so you can put song cards onto the radio, which also is an area influence thing. But players can cover other people's songs as a part of their gig. So there's a lot going on. I'm trying to keep it on the, in terms of complexity, like a 3 to a 3.5.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I feel like it's on the maybe heavier side of medium, which is fine with me because that's like I like heavier games.
Of course.
But yeah. So there's some, and then at the end of each year, so there are 3 years, there's a battle of the bands. So then you're going to kind of compete directly with each other, and that was actually inspired by Arctic Scavengers. There's a brawl phase in Arctic Scavengers. It's a deck building game, but it's like you have this moment where all of a sudden you're pitting the players against each other. So I wanted to like have something like that. So it's just like there are little different thematic nuggets throughout, and the different types of musicians you can recruit for your bands have different powers, and so
this really, let me repeat here a few comments. So, and I would really, I'm 100%, I'm saying the same basically. Jay's Fool's God is saying that sounds clever. Ash is saying that sounds interesting. And Daniel, especially, I played. And this is what I'm thinking as well. Because I was listening and I would say, yes, of course, I definitely played. So, and I think deck building is also a good choice here, using it as a tool. I love straight deck builders, like for example Star Realms, where the whole game is deck building. I love that, quick and nice. But actually, what I really prefer to is where deck building is a tool. So like in Mombasa, in Great Western Trails, a few acres of snow. So where it's very important, but it's not the whole game. So and I really look forward to stage left here. So where is it in development? Are you saying, well, we are done with testing it? If I have a publisher, we can do it next week. Is it more end of the year? Is it totally open, or how do you see it?
My goal was actually to start pitching it this year, but I have a lot more playtesting to do. I have a lot more playtesting to do, and the challenge is I work a full-time job, and then like between BGG, it's just, I'm not playtesting as often as I would like to. But I would say it's definitely not like broken, but there are just things that it needs to be play tested more because there's a lot going on. So ideally it would be ready to pitch later this year.
But this is fine. This is fine. So if there are any publishers out there listening, so get in touch with Candice and even Spielworks. I'd definitely be interested to learn more about
I'll show
the game.
It to you sometime.
Yay! Cool. So that would be really great. And I think there's even a page where you can. I had this at the start screen, and I will put up this later again, so you can get more information if you're interested in stage left. So of course, right now we are in the pandemic and testing is difficult. But Gen Con has been moved to mid-September. Origin has been
Mhm.
moved to late September. How do you see the US convention season this year? Do you think it's happening or?
I think it'll happen. I think that, there are going to be some people that are going to go. And I think there are going to be a lot of people who are also still going to probably hang back
Yeah,
um, just until things are looking a little better. I mean, hopefully, with the way the vaccines are rolling out,
yeah,
it will be looking significantly better. But it's really hard to say. And I feel like even if everybody is vaccinated, by
yeah,
September, I still don't think people are going to be all that gung ho about going to a board game
yeah,
convention. Unfortunately, I miss
yeah.
conventions
Uh,
a lot.
Me too. Even and then I actually because it was for me it was a business trip. I hate Essen so badly because it was too much stress, too many people. But even I'm saying if I could get back my standard normal Essen, I'd be all for it. But
Yeah,
I don't see it that quickly. So well,
yeah.
I guess we have to wait. We
We
have
have
to
to
wait.
wait. We'll just have to. Thankfully, we still have Tabletop Simulator and Board Game Arena and Vassal, and for people who aren't comfortable with
Yes.
going out and playing in person. Um, but yeah, it was kind of crazy because I joined the BGD team at the beginning of last year. We went to Gamma Trade Show in March in Reno, and we almost didn't go because it was like right at that point
Yeah.
where it was
Mhm.
being talked about, and people backed out. But we were like, we brought a bunch of Eric Martin brought a ton of little hand sanitizers for us all to like clip on these cute little ones. But we were just really cautious, and that was my first time hosting a BGD live stream, so that was kind of exciting. And I was supposed to have been going to Origins last year, and then Gen Con, and possibly even Essen, and then pandemic.
Done.
Everything was online. So yeah, so I'm definitely itching to, when it's safe to get to some more conventions.
Yeah, yeah, it will happen again, but maybe not this year. So, and you should
Right.
definitely already, you have one more interest in your game here. Phil from Spielpunks
Cool.
is
Thank
saying
you.
Punk would be worth more points, but I guess I'm also interested. Yeah, you see, if you make this, the game is already sold. So,
That
but
is I was gonna say that is like I have right now. I'm playtesting with Punk. Alternative is green cubes. Punk is blue cubes, and heavy metal is black cubes. But I want to have probably 5 or 6 different genres, and you can mix and match for whatever kind of game you want. And there'll be certain events depending on the lineup of bands.
yeah, sounds really excellent. And Candice,
Thanks.
so thank you very much here for your time. How can people reach you? So what is easiest if people want to reach you, Candice?
Um, First of all, thank you, Uli, and everybody out there who's like hanging out this morning or this evening or afternoon, wherever you are. Um, you can follow me or message me on Twitter. I am at Candy Drums, and it's CANDI drum.
Mhm.
That is the best way to get a hold of me. I'm also Candy Drum on BGG. So feel free to message me, say hi, talk games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, but we are having one more question, and we should definitely, or you should definitely answer this. Jay Foolscard is asking, do the genres have a different feel in your game? So, or is it just the different colors, or do they have a different feel?
So right now, the genres all kind of play the same.
Okay.
You have different musician cards. That's actually how you can change your band genres by changing your lineup of musicians. Um, but I want to get the core functionality really play tested. But I'm planning to integrate some events that are
Mhm.
going to be kind of bringing in the more thematic ties to the genres. And like I said, I would like to have like 5 or 6 genres you can play, so playing a 4-player game, you pick 3 genres, like, oh, maybe we want to do indie rock, heavy metal, and folk today.
Yeah,
And depending on that lineup, there will be some special kind of events
yeah.
that happen relative to the genres. So
So
that's kind of still getting integrated. But yeah, I'm just trying to make sure the core functionality is all working there.
yeah, but this really sounds better and better. So you need to bring this game out. So next week, I will have another guest here. It will be Matt Wolf, and we will talk about his game, his design, Squaring Circle Will, which also will be Spielworks' next game. So what a
Cool.
coincidence! And
Awesome.
thank you for your time. And if you would like to see a special topic discussed here in the future, or have a specific question that you'd like to ask in advance, please drop me a mail at uli@spielworks.de. That is uli@spielworks.de. And till then, till next week, bleibt gesund. Black Lives Matter. Bye bye. Bye.
Thanks, Silly.